Hi again, everyone. This video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here's her story. Hi, Ollie. I sent a couple of my other stories in the past. I'm processing through some of the resurfacing memories now and was wondering if any of you guys have had any experiences related to or input on two types of abuse. Munchausen by proxy abuse, being a victim of a child predator. If so, how did you guys deal and get through it? I'll give you a brief run through on my personal experience examples. When I was 11 years old, my family took our annual family vacation to California, to Los Angeles, Venice Beach, which is great, and then finally a military base in the Mojave Desert to visit people that my parents knew. This would be mine and my older brother's first time meeting these people. The second night there, it went from creepishly Mayberry to complete insanity and pandemonium. I still have no clue what set it off. I was in one of the bedrooms talking to the 16-year-old girl that lived there. Everything was quiet. I specifically remember that we were keeping it down as to not wake anyone up. We thought everyone had been asleep for a while. The oldest guy and primary house owner burst into the room and jumped on that girl, knocking her off the bed and started beating the shit out of her. So fast that I was on the floor screaming my head off before it really registered what was going on. I'm not going to get into the level of insanity things reached that night. I mean, up until that point, I had seen some crazy shit in my time, but that by far takes the cake. The main point is that the younger guy that lived there, according to my therapist, is a child sexual predator. That's how it was explained to me once I told my therapist about that particular memory that took 30 years to resurface. that also the that's also the first time I've heard the term grooming. I thoroughly researched everything on child predators after that particular session, and it fits unfortunately to a T. This guy was 24 years old and worked as an MP in the US Marine Corps. Now, I'm not throwing any derogatory statements at any branches of the military here, so no offense meant. Just saying it didn't help any to know that guy was a trained killer and worked in military law enforcement. He wasn't only built like a steel fortress, but he was way over 6 foot, whatever. I know that I was only 11, but I was extremely tall for my age. That first day there, I was standing in a hallway. I didn't hear or see anyone waking up. I turned around and did a face plant into this guy's abdomen. My nose literally went into his belly button. He had his shirt off. Gross. I stumbled back out of surprise. I would have fell flat on my back, but this dude caught me before I hit the floor. He was leaned way over with his arms wrapped around me and was all up in my face. I don't remember what he said, but he completely creeped and freaked me out. I kept trying to get my parents to tell them, but he kept cutting me off and walked all up on me a couple more times. My alarm bells, whistles, and danger flashers were going off like crazy. There were loads of people in the house and around my parents. I couldn't see They couldn't see me trying to get their attention. That guy kept standing there half naked staring at me. So I took off outside and decided to try to get to my parents later. That didn't quite work out. Every time I got close to my mom and tried to pull her to the side to tell her something is wrong, that one dude kept charging in the room right next to us. He was huge. I mean, freaking huge. I would tell my mom nothing when she asked, "What is it?" or "What did I want to talk to her about?" That guy scared the shit out of me. I was a scrawny 11-year-old girl. What in the hell was I going to do, you know? The oldest dude there turned out to be a sociopathic misogynist. He made me well aware of how his own mother royally fucked him up in graphic detail. Also, what he wanted to and would do to me if I told anyone what I'd seen there that second night. No one else was in that particular room at that time. Let's just say after what I had seen him do to those other two girls that night, it wasn't bullshit. I had no trouble believing him. I have no idea why people find the need to show their true colors around me. By the time my covert narcissist father realized that these people weren't playing or weren't going to play his stupid childish mind games, it was too late. He'd given away all his power and had zero authority. They played him for a fool and had him right where they wanted him. My mother is a narcissistic black hole with bouts of psychosis, by the way. When my dad did decide to remove his head from his own ass, they pulled the sheep's clothing off of the wolf. The 24-year-old made it known that he had dominated the entire household. His 11-year-old daughter and 15-year-old son had already been victimized repeatedly by this predator, both brainwashed and scared into silence. With the typical child predator, I'll hurt you, I'll hurt your sibling or your mom if you don't cooperate or if you tell line. He drugged my older brother into all of it to prove a point when I had refused to cooperate. He saved the really sick, degrading shit from my brother. So he, my father, had lost any amount of respect and admiration that he had from his children, continuously passing up the chances he was obviously given to man up by the sick fucks that ran the household, earning his only son's complete and utter hatred. My older brother was the golden child, by the way, and the sociopath had targeted and successfully forcibly taken his own wife from him in the living room in front of everyone, standing there and while her husband did nothing, watching while her husband did nothing. Congratulations, Dad. Side note, he took my mother completely fighting to get away down the hall into his bedroom. Talk about my birth father's weak little bitch didn't have the sack to stand up to a man. Colors shine through. The only words uttered by my father in tears was, "My God." At that point, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I lost my shit, flew up off the couch where I had been sitting and screamed at my dad, "Well, that's just fucking brilliant." And yes, to this day, I'm still very angry about this. The 24-year-old then lightly grabbed me by the arm, grabbed my stuff, and walked me to the hallway bathroom. Told me to put my headphones on, that I didn't need to hear this, to lock the door and don't come out until he comes to get me. I had spent a great deal of time in that bathroom with my headphones on when the shit hit the fan right before things in that house had gotten insanely violent. As crazy as it may sound, I was spared the worst of the abuse. Everyone in that house was getting abused. Before anyone asked, yes, they did have neighbors. Of course, they had to have heard. And no, the police or no one else showed up to check out what was going on. My conclusion while going through it, all that obviously was a regular occurrence, even more frightening. By the time it was all said and done, we had stayed 2 extra weeks. My father tried taking his family and leaving, but the 24-year-old every time bowed up to him and told him no, told him, "Not with her, you're not," talking about me, physically blocking my way, blocked my parents' way when they tried getting me. Ending with me hiding out in a hallway bathroom and a knockout drag-out fight with everyone else in the house. I snuck out once to see what was really going on. Furniture in the living room was being thrown, dishes and who knows what were being thrown and breaking against the wall in the kitchen. I caught a quick glimpse of the 21-year-old girl being slammed down onto the kitchen table being choked by I have no idea who, before the 24-year-old caught me and gently put me back in the bathroom. I was terrified, obviously, grabbed the pillow and blanket that were in the bathroom, ran and hid in the tub with the shower curtain closed. Not that this would have protected me anymore. I just didn't know what else to do. I ended up crying myself to sleep and falling asleep in the tub. Anyway, I'm not going to get into any more graphic detail about what went on. We just spent 3 weeks with the 24-year-old predator and sociopath misogynist teaming up, grooming my parents, trying to manipulate my dad into letting me stay just for 2 more months. If it didn't work out and I wanted to go home, which I did, then they would pay for my plane ticket and send me home. I don't know how or what my dad said to con his way out of it, but after 3 weeks, we were all on our way home. Collateral damage. Not that it was the most stable to begin with, but after this, my father's entire family unit and disillusioned public persona life was destroyed. Once we had gotten home, my older golden child narc brother pulled me aside to swear to secrecy. He didn't want rumors spreading about what happened. He didn't want people thinking he was homosexual. Nothing against homosexuals. He also told me that did say anything to anyone, he wouldn't back me up and would tell everyone I was lying. To also remember that sick freak's threat that we had to protect mom. I was pretty much left with no choice, so I agreed. Besides, that guy would always tell me in private how much he hated my mom and my brother. That's why all the horrible stuff that he does to my brother, he would never do to me, which he didn't. He kept telling me how much he liked me and how he hated them. I kept thinking, geez, if you do this to someone you like, you would hate to imagine what you would do to someone you hated. Anyway, he had this instilled deep-rooted fear in both of us, and the need that wasn't there before to protect our mom. So we stayed silent, even though all the grilling from our extended family members, schools, police, social workers, all our lives fell apart after that. My brother, who had been a notorious straight A student and cross country track star with a fully paid scholarship to, I forget which college, had quit everything, started flunking all his classes, ditched all his friends, started hanging out with the wrong crowd, till he was so strung out on drugs the drug dealers were calling the house. My dad had to pay off from what I heard was at least $10,000, or they were going to kill my brother. My brother freely admitted to getting a buttload of the more hardcore drugs, and instead of selling them, him and his friends did them all. My brother intentionally got expelled his senior year for whatever reason. I don't know. My dad had to pay a buttload of money for this local private school for last chancers. My parents pretty much bought the high school diploma versus their child actually earning it. As far as me, I feel completely broken. I tried for the first 2 months to pull my shit together. Didn't quite work out. I did everything to pick up the pieces. In the end, I only managed to pick up 2 or 3 pieces of my former life. I spent more time just waiting for the rest of the pieces to come back on their own. In my 11-year-old mind, I thought they were just lost or something. Until I had gotten to the point where I had to accept they weren't lost, they were gone. I couldn't even identify the pieces of myself that he had taken from me. They were just gone and not coming back. I had gotten so sick of hearing everyone saying that I wasn't the same kid, that the blah, blah, blah 11-year-old girl that left for California wasn't the same girl that came back. But they were right. I wasn't the same person. Nor would I ever be the same person again that left for that trip, ever again, even till this day. As for my mother, at some point in my 11th year, she had completely went off the deep end. Unable to function around people, she lost her highly paid, very successful lead position at a highly reputable company. She was committed into a mental hospital shortly after that, plunged into a deep psychosis and never came out. It didn't take long until she was barely recognizable. All of our lives were completely shattered after that. It felt like living in a world of shit and someone kept flushing the toilet before we had gotten sucked down the drain. As we were all caught up in that continuous looping, spiraling cycle. As far as Munchausen by proxy, like I said, my mother went completely off the deep end. I'm not going to pretend to know her motives of why she did what she did. I spent the rest of my 6th grade year, after no one could get it out of me what happened, extremely sick. They all knew from what I was told that a child predator had gotten a hold of me, and most probable my brother. We were both showing all the signs and symptoms, etc. But my brother didn't talk, so I didn't talk. So then proceeded with the spontaneous serious illnesses. I started having fainting spells at school, blackouts, grand mal seizures to where I was foaming at the mouth. Then came the excruciating stomach pains and projectile vomiting, mysterious burning, high fevers, throat infections, bronchitis, and other respiratory infections. The beating started. I would have to make excuses for not dressing in PE to hide all the bruises. I started showing up at school with an arm and wrist splints due to torn ligaments. My mother, the hysteric, started theories on leukemia and then bone marrow cancer. I spent months home bound from school. Spent months going to specialists and hospital to hospital. My parents put me through hell having extreme, insane tests run to find an answer what was going wrong with me. It pisses me off. I honestly think that the psycho bitch was poisoning me to keep me sick. I tried telling people that, but of course no one believed me. It was easier to label me as disturbed and crazy rather than face the possibility of the truth. At least until the hospital specialists in school started naming Munchausen by proxy. The label disturbed was dropped, but everyone still spread the rumors that I was crazy. Go figure. Sorry for the length of the letter. I tried to keep it short, but wanted to give sufficient enough amount of detail. P.S. The long-term effects of this, according to my current therapist, explains the reason I was unable to function in groups throughout my school years, even into college. Thank you, Anonymous. Wow. It sounds like your parents had money. I don't understand how they ended up in this place to begin with. They just go on vacation to California to somebody's house, a 24-year-old Marine. That doesn't even make any that doesn't even make any sense. Like, how did they know this person? It just doesn't make any sense that one person can control a whole family like that, and a man. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I believe what you're saying. I'm like, I just can't believe that. I think your father knew somewhat was going to happen. I don't think he knew it was going to get to the extent it did. I think the Munchausen by proxy, though, is definitely caused by what happened to your mother in that house. I mean, that's horrible. It's a horrible story. You haven't even gone into any great detail, but I think everybody can get the gist of what went down. You know, it's really the failure of your father. This is your father's fault, because the second you guys were clear of that house, he should have had LAPD there. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that your father put it on a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old who had been raped and basically had seen their mother raped. It's unreal. Look, when you're the victim of child sexual predators, as many of us are, it follows you forever. It follows you forever. So your Munchausen by proxy of your mother, it sounds like you were being poisoned. That's what it sounds like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if your medical ailments have healed up since you're no longer there, I mean, I kind of think you have your answer. You know, as far as how we deal with it, well, I think that's what you're doing. I think that's what we're all doing right now on this channel. It's talking about it so we know we're not alone. Your story, as horrible as it is, isn't the first one like this. It isn't even all that uncommon. So, as self-serving as it may sound, in regards to dealing with this, I think what we're doing is the best thing we can do to deal with this. And there's just a lot in this story. A lot. So, but Anonymous is also looking for advice from what everybody else thinks and everybody else's experience. So please leave your opinions and advice in the comments section below. Thank you again for your contribution. Thank you for your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. And remember, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, or you'd like to set up a private Skype chat or have a private video made, you know what to do with the PayPal and email link in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Bye.